let's go ahead and start, shall we? My name is Beth Bando. I am the Education Director for the Dallas-Fort Worth Climate Reality Project. This is my last year in this position, and I'm also the chair of the Climate Creatives, and I will be continuing in that position. We begin with a land acknowledgement and community rules, and Mike Henkel, who is the co-chair of our department, is going to read those. So Mike, if you would, and I do see that you're muted.
There we go. Okay, for some reason I feel like I have an old copy, but it's going to work regardless. Alrighty, our community ground rules are make space or take space, which basically share your time, and we all try not to dominate too badly, but 2 minutes is usually good. And then speak from the I perspective instead of generalizing. Practice active listening and seek to understand each other. Assume good intentions. Respect one another's space, time, and interest. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Be open to productive discomfort. Intent does not negate impact. Disagree without discord. Personal attacks and labeling have no place in our chapter. And accept that there is no quick fix. And do you want me to go ahead and do the land acknowledgement now?
Yes, please.
Okay. And the Indigenous land acknowledgement. We also want to start our meetings this way with our Indigenous land acknowledgement, which is now available on our chapter website. It's specifically in the DFW areas. We are standing and living on the land stolen from the Kickapoo, Wichita, and Tawakoni, Jumanos, and Comanche people who have been harmed yet continue to thrive in the process of colonialization and white supremacy. I encourage all of us to go to native-land.ca and educate ourselves on these Native communities, and I will put that in the chat also.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. And for our opening contemplation tonight, we turn our focus towards summer and light. We are just now beginning to lose about 2 minutes of light a day. As we move into fall, it actually lowers to losing 1 minute of light per day. It is summer. It is hot. It's supposed to be hot in the summer, but it's too hot. And that is why we gather together as activists and environmentalists. The earth turns, and we who live upon her turn with her. We offer our gratitude to her. May our paths be well lit. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker. So Maureen, if you would like to hop on, there you go. And let me give you a little introduction, and then you can take it away. Our guest speaker tonight is Maureen McCarthy, who is from the Fort Collins, Colorado Climate Reality Project. She's going to be presenting What's Up? And this is a body of work that she has developed from her 12 years working professionally in her local landfill and recycling center. And she's going to talk to us about what those little symbols on packaging really mean and what happens when you wish cycle, when you hope that something is recycling, so you throw it in the bin, whether it is or not. And she's going to address the increasing use of single-use plastics and what we can do about it. So Maureen, would you like to tell us a little bit more about how you came to do everything that you do, and then go into your presentation, please?
Hi, yeah. Thank you all for just being willing to listen to me instead of a huge convention that's going on. And this is recorded, so hopefully people will listen to it later. I just want to throw out some things that I recently learned. One I didn't so recently learn, which is a phrase from the Beyond Plastics group, which is plastic is the new coal. And that means that that's addressing this fact that 40% of greenhouse gases now come from the way that we make, use, and dispose of products. And it's estimated that by 2050, we will use more oil for plastic than fuel for our cars. So, my little adventure, which I'll tell you about at in the PowerPoint that is short, um, has been quite a fun experiment. Just an experiment with lessons learned at every turn. So, when I retired from my last job with the city in waste reduction recycling, I attended the class. It's called Plastics 101 from Judith Enck. Judith Enck was the regional EPA director under Obama, and she's the person that created Beyond Plastics. So I attended her class, and then I went into the Speakers Bureau. So the presentation you're going to hear was my graduation presentation from that class. So I'm going to share the screen. And I would get my face off of here, but it's too late. So I need to read my notes. So anyway, y'all know my name is Maureen, and my team and I created a fiscally sponsored nonprofit that is a Beyond Plastics affiliate called FOCO Trash Mob. So we educate about SUPs. Does anybody know what SUPs are? Go ahead and throw it out there. What's a SUP?
Stand up paddleboard.
I know it's not. It's something much more important. I should have said it's nothing to do with it. Single use
Plastic.
Plastics.
Okay, so we educate about SUPs. We conduct plastic sendbacks, and we support legislation where we can. And we partner with these organizations. So the FOCO part of our name is for Fort Collins, and that's where the team lives. But you could create a trash mob wherever you are, and I hope you will. So what is a trash mob? Well, if you ever have seen a flash mob, they are choreographed events that are meant to look spontaneous. Well, a trash mob would be a flash mob, but with an environmental message and action attached to it. So the performers would be waving or dragging the same plastic item or juggling it or wearing it. I'm not sure, but they would be having fun with it. Then everyone would mail the plastic back to the company with a well-written letter that includes viable alternatives. Our dream is to make a trash mob video, but we would need more than a budget of $0 to do that. So in the meantime, we educate the public about the plastic pollution crisis. We support legislation to minimize SUPs. And we do direct action campaigns that annoy and nudge corporations to change their suppy ways. And then we learned about other groups that are protesting SUPs in a similar way. B. Johnson, who coined the term active discards in her book Zero Waste Home, said, quote, while inaction condones waste and perpetuates it, action, on the other hand, can initiate change. And some angry ladies in England conduct what they call plastic attacks by returning their SUPs to the store. So we know that others are protesting SUPs in a variety of different ways. Protesting SUPs is super important to me because I was on the front lines, working for over 12 years with my county and then with my city at the landfill and the recycling center. Part of my job was to train volunteers to answer all those nuanced questions. Should I take the cap off when I recycle my water bottle? Where can I recycle styrofoam? What do you mean this isn't recyclable? It says so right here, pointing at the chasing arrows. So, like you may have noticed, and I certainly did, these questions, most of the confusion was about recycling was around plastics, most of which is not recyclable. And while the questions mounted, so did the plastic. It seemed like we kept seeing more and more and different kinds of plastic coming into our center. And this graph shows that's exactly what was happening. So, challenged with educating my community about this, I focused on how we need to understand that not all recycling is created equal. We need to look at recyclables as the resources that create our packaging. For example, paper. We know paper comes from trees, and it's a great thing to recycle. It makes total sense to make paper from paper and leave the trees to make oxygen. But paper recycling is limited to only about 7 times before the fibers get too weak. Unlike aluminum, which is something we should always recycle, it is recyclable infinity times without losing its chemical properties. When you drink from an aluminum can, at least 50% of it has already been made from other aluminum cans. And when bauxite is mined to create aluminum, it is highly degrading to the area where it is extracted. But plastic is different. During my 12 years at the landfill and the recycling center, hardly anyone I asked knew where plastic came from. Thankfully, the word is getting out, and many people know that plastic is made from chemicals and fossil fuels. But did you know that most plastics today are made from ethane, a byproduct of fracked gas? Until recently, most people thought that the numbers in the chasing arrows meant that that plastic was going to get recycled. The reality is that most plastics are not recyclable, and the industry knew this, as this quote shows, for decades. They appropriated the chasing arrows for their resin identification system. And this was an ingenious marketing move because it suggests that any item with that chasing arrows can be recycled. But the truth is that these numbers are a resin identification code. They tell manufacturers which chemicals and other properties are contained in those 7 types of plastics. And by the way, not only are there more than 7 kinds of plastics, there are over 1,000, as well as some 10,000 chemicals. So how is plastic made? Remember that most plastic today is made from ethane, which used to just be flared off during the fracking process. Nowadays, that ethane is captured and sent via pipeline to an ethane cracker facility. Cracking is the term chemists use for the process of breaking molecular bonds in complex hydrocarbons to create simpler ones. Because that bond is very strong, the process requires extremely high temperatures. Ethane cracks at 1,650 degrees, creating ethylene, the basic building block of most plastics. Add pressure and a catalyst, and you get polyethylene, or PET, which is extruded and cut into little pellets. These tiny polyethylene pellets are the feedstock for everything from auto parts to zippers but especially single-use items. It takes 1,000 pellets to make 1 sup water bottle. Okay, so now we know the problem and how it's made, but why is it so hard to recycle? Why can't we just recycle it all? Well, let's look at that example of the water bottle. On the left, the chasing arrows on the bottom of the bottle is the number 1, or PET, or polyethylene. That is also the case for the clamshells on the right. But the bottles are recyclable and the clamshells are not. One reason for that is that manufacturers use different processes to produce different types of PET containers. They make clamshells using a process called thermoforming, and bottles and jugs through a process called blow molding. So that makes them just different enough so that they cannot be included with the plastic slurry that will be created from the bottles. And we recently learned that the stickers on the clamshells are another problem. The third problem is that the optic sorters at the sorting facilities cannot recognize the clamshell shape. They're set to shape and not resin. So they'll capture the bottles and not the clamshells. And lastly, when you wish cycle or wish it was recyclable and put it in the bin, it takes a long journey to a sorting facility called a MRF, where it goes through miles of conveyor belts and ends up in the last pile headed for the landfill, wasting everyone's time, energy, and money. Single stream material recovery facilities, or MRFs, are where almost all U.S. recyclables end up. These are sorting facilities, so nothing gets recycled there. As you can see, everything rolls down a conveyor belt in a single stream, to be sorted mostly mechanically. Magnets will catch the metals, eddy currents blow aluminum off the belt, optic sorters or robots separate out the few plastics that will get recycled. Numbers 1s, 2s, and sometimes 5s. Then the sorted materials are baled and sold to waste brokers. But due to the low value of post-consumer plastic, a waste broker may be an incinerator plant, which means it's getting burned. And you may have heard of the term waste to energy. And since an estimated 43% of plastic produced today goes to making packaging, we really should just call it frackaging. At this point, so much plastic is being made that if plastic were a country, it would be the world's 5th largest emitter of greenhouse gases, making it a huge contributor to climate change. Okay, so once I found out how damaging SUPs are throughout their life cycle, from extraction, manufacturing, brief life of a few minutes or seconds, to disposal, I felt angry, dismayed, and betrayed. What can I do? Of course, we can do the best we can in our homes, schools, and jobs to minimize our use of SUPs. But while our making social choices to avoid SUPs is a good start by itself, it cannot change a crisis this big. It's harder and harder to even feed ourselves without unwittingly buying stuff in plastic, in the grocery store, in a restaurant. Whoops. The real solution is to turn off the tap. We must stop making so many unnecessary SUPs. Of course, Foco Trash Mob does not have access to the faucet. So we have 3 things that we focus on, which we feel is key. And we hope that it will motivate you to do something. Now that you know about this, each one teach one. We can educate through presentations like this, speaking and tabling at community events and schools, to name a few. We put pressure on companies that create and purchase subs. What if the plastic producers and buyers of all that packaging had to deal with the disposing of it? Let's tell them you made it, you take it. And third, we support legislation where we can. FOCO Trash Mob team member Roxanne is spearheading a piece of legislation to stop the sale of SUPS water bottles under a gallon in our town of Fort Collins, Colorado, where we have some of the best water in the nation. We cannot believe the progress that we have made already with this initiative, and we're happy to share any results with you or any information with you. You can take control over the packaging you get. These are the groups that we are working with on different aspects of the SUPS pollution crisis. I hope you will join them or us. Are you in?
Thank you. Can you by any chance go back or tell us what those other companies are that we can support? I wrote down Upstream is one of them. What were some of the other ones, Maureen?
Sure. So, let me tell you about these groups because they're just amazing. So the one on the upper left, they don't have their name there. That's Upstream Solutions. Upstream Solutions focuses on a reuse economy and scaling it. Scaling and up a reuse economy so that and there's so much cool stuff going on that they are privy to. And they have a group, an activist group that meets as well online. Under Upstream is Five Gyres. Five Gyres, the gentleman that started that and his wife were the first people to go out into the ocean and see those plastic gyres. Yeah. And there's a whole wonderful story around it. So we are ambassadors of Five Gyres. We are partners with Upstream here. Move Past Plastic is in Philly. So that's a group near you. Beyond Plastics, as I said, is our main group, national group started by Judith Inc. Break Free from Plastic is a global group. They create legislation that huge legislation for the planet and for specific countries. So if you are in another country, that is the group you want to connect with. And we first connected with them when we found out that when they did their what they called brand audits at the time, they did this 5 years in a row. It was a bunch of steps that you went through to do the brand audit. And the last step was to send the plastic back to the place that you cleaned it up from the beach or whatever. So there's just a lot going on in this arena right now. We're kind of excited because we started just as my team is 6 people. And we are interestingly enough, organically diverse. So we have, just FYI, there's 3 old white ladies, me, Kim, and Roxanne, and then Renga Subramanian, who is our amazing guy that does the research. And then Anurag and Debelina do the website. And then I'm kind of the spokesperson. So
Awesome. Maureen, that is amazing. Yeah, really amazing. So I think we're going to go into the question and Q&A part now. So what'd you think? That was a lot of information.
That was great. I have a question if I can start. So So the part of plastics, let's see, you said, which is, I guess, the way you said it sounds nationwide. Like you can recycle your water bottle because it's the better type of plastic. Um, and so there's two parts here. One, because you had mentioned, do we take the cap off or not? Is that a yes or a no? Or and
Yeah. So to the recycling questions, a water bottle is PET, the bottle itself. The cap and the sleeve. So there's also a sleeve around every water bottle that identifies its brand. Those two items are fives. The water bottle is a one. So if you're going to recycle it, the sleeve and the cap will, in the slurry, float to the top and it will get skimmed off because it can't be in there with the one, with the PET. That makes sense. They're looking for one type of plastic. So the slurry, the PET slurry is what they're looking for. So they got to get rid of that five. That's the cap and the sleeve. Does that make sense so far?
yes.
So that's going to get skimmed off. When oil prices are high, that slurry of fives that skimmed off will find a market. When oil prices are low, that skimmed off slurry will be landfill, discarded in a waterway. I don't know. But there's no market for it if oil prices are high. Does
Wow.
that make sense? And that is how it works.
And that's the like those blackberry, the strawberry containers, those are all five
Trash.
trash.
Those are all number one. That's what I was trying to show is those two, that your water bottle and your clamshell's the same plastic, but it's not the same because of this different process to create those two plastics, because of the sticker that wreaks havoc in the slurry. The sleeve on the water bottle and the cap doesn't, because it's going to get skimmed off. It's going to float to the top. The sticker on your clamshell is going to create a problem. So it's so nuanced. And when I had all these questions thrown at me, I could never say, when they would say caps on or caps off, I wish I could have said, yeah, caps on, or yeah, caps. It was so nuanced. All of plastic recycling is so confusing and so nuanced. It's not like I pointed out with the paper or aluminum or metals. All those materials, you can rest assured they find a home. Glass is a bit specific to where you are. We're kind of in a unique situation in Colorado. So I don't know what your situation is with glass, but you can see how difficult, and that's why I came to this point where I said, enough is enough. I can't educate people about this problem because it's really not recyclable. It's not meant to be recyclable. It is a material that's meant to be in our environment forever. And for us to be using it for minutes or less is so horrible. Now I'm going to not cry. So go ahead. Any other questions?
I know we had something come in the chat, but let me look at everybody and see.
So
Yes.
kind of following that question. So are we supposed to peel the sleeve, take the cap off, and separate? And what do we do?
Yeah, and see, I never even answered the question. So I'm just going to tell you what happens in either case. If you take the cap off, and you should throw it away, please don't take it off and put it in your recycle bin. It's too small for anything to capture it and it has no value. But if you keep it on, as I said, when oil prices are high, in that slurry of PET water bottles, soda bottles, those fives, which are the cap and the sleeve, will be removed. They will float to the top of the slurry. They will be removed. And if oil prices are high, they will find an end market. When oil prices are low, they will not. So your option is I can hope that happens, or I can take it off and throw it out. It's 6 of one and half dozen of another. And I can tell you your situation in Dallas is the same as it is in Denver, which is where our MRF is.
Now, for example, here in Dallas, there are some companies that you can take the plastic bags, and some companies take just plastic bags. But for example, REI take plastic bags and also the wrappers.
Yeah.
You know, the plastic that comes for candy
Is
or
that
whatever.
so,
So
Patricio, is that TerraCycle, or is it another company that's local?
Well,
TerraCycle's a company where you have to send the things to them.
no, it's like some grocery stores, they have a designated area that you can dump the plastic
Okay.
bags.
Yeah.
But REI are, I think, on Central Market are the only two places that I know that they take both the plastic bags plus the wrappers.
Yeah.
Because the
Do y'all
city
want
don't take
me
any
to
plastic bag. Go
exactly?
ahead. Yeah.
Do y'all want me to talk about plastic bags for a sec?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So plastic bags are going to be HDPE. This is the plastic type that they are made from. HDPE is number 2. It's the same as your laundry detergent and your milk jugs. Or they will be LDPE, which is a low density polyethylene. It's sort of in the similar family. Plastic bags are too thin to really, when you start applying heat, and you can do this with a match, you'll see it starts burning, or it's not, you cannot create something from something so flimsy, if I could put it simply. So plastic bags need to have what is called a pelletizer to be able to recycle them. Most communities do not have a pelletizer. We happen to have one here in a nearby town because we have an independent recycling company that was able to purchase this $1.5 million pelletizer. And the reason they were able to purchase it is because they have an end market of Amish plastic furniture makers. And I don't know where that's located, that requires at least 15% or 10%, whatever the percentage is, of recycled plastic to be in that furniture. Because their consumers are demanding that. So that's where your plastic bag may be going, is going if you're in Colorado. If you're wherever you are in Dallas, I'm going to guess it's not getting recycled. I don't know, but you could follow it. ABC, if you want to Google this, ABC did a great half-hour little documentary where they put trackers in those plastic bags that people were recycling. And the trackers went not only throughout the United States, went where they said they weren't going to go, but they went overseas. And whenever they go overseas, that means that it's not good. That's not good whenever it goes overseas. I don't know if I
Mike?
answered your question. Welcome to my world. No. Yes. No.
Mike?
Okay, I'm trying not to dominate the questions. So just quickly, so my little vitamin bottle here or a water bottle, does this wrapper come off automatically in the slurry? You know,
So that's probably a PET number 1, correct? Look on the bottom. Yep. So if you look at that wrapper and try to get it off, it's probably paper-esque. Is that true? Kind of.
Yes.
Yep. So no problem. That is not going to make a problem in the slurry. The cap, which is a 5, who knew? I know, but nobody else. The 5 cap, again, will float to the surface, and we know the scenario. Yeah. I always try to get people to move away from recycle. We want to recycle this stuff so bad. We want to wish cycle it. Plastic is not recyclable in general. That's why we need to fight it on a different level. And it's actually been fun. I just want to make a real quick plug. A wonderful high schooler named Sanvi Motamari got a hold of us, and she's going to help us do what our first is called AHAD, an hour of active discard. So we're going to be doing that in October. If y'all want to join, it's kind of cathartic because you have these well-written letters, you send it back to them, you see what responses you have, you catalog it in a spreadsheet, which we're doing, so the next person doesn't have to reinvent that wheel. That's one thing you can do. I mean, there are other things too. Thinking that you're going to recycle your way out of this plastic mess is never going to work. We know 6 to 9% of plastics have ever been recycled. Yes. Ian.
Yes, let's get to Ian, and then Jeffrey, and then before we end, Maureen, I'm going to ask you to give us more hints about what we can do beyond this idea. Oh, recycle. Ian, do you want to go next?
My name is Ian Siemens. I work for Environment Texas. We're another coalition member of the Break Free from Plastics Coalition. Very glad to have you here, Maureen. Thank you for speaking about this very important topic today. Could you talk a little bit about how other countries handle plastic recycling? I know that the process is often a single stream in a lot of other countries instead of multi-stream.
Yeah, actually, Break Free from Plastic, as you know, globally, most countries are in a much worse position than we are and Europe is. We are the ones that have the MRFs. Europe does a lot more source separation, which is when you put one thing in one bin, and that's where we should have stayed, in my opinion, after 12 years and working here. When we went to the single stream, they said, oh, but we'll capture so many more recyclables. What we end up doing is capturing a lot more trash. So developing countries are getting our trash. It's being sent over there since China in 2018. They had a program called the National Sword where they said, no more. We can make our own trash. Thank you, Europe and United States. We don't need it. So then we're searching for other countries, Malaysia, Vietnam. They're all being inundated with our plastic trash. So those countries are not able to handle this. It's ending up in their waterways. You can see pictures of it all over. They don't really have the infrastructure that we do. So what we're doing, if you want to talk about climate justice, this is the issue. This is what we're doing, is sending our trash to the poorest people on the planet for them to deal with. Waste pickers in India, and it's just, that's why I think so many people are responding to me from these countries. I'm hearing from people who want to help me from India, from Tunisia. So it's just, I don't know if I answered your question. I'm going to say that a lot. But
Thank you.
yeah.
Ian, what was the name of the company, the environmental group you're with? Was it Coalition Texas?
Environment Texas is the name of our
Environment?
organization. Yeah. And if y'all
And
don't mind, I'll also share some stuff that we've been doing around plastic here in Texas as well. So you can be plugged into that, because I know that there's a lot going on in Houston, especially because we're kind of the forefront of what the oil industry is up to next.
right. And are
And-
you
yeah.
based here in Dallas, Fort Worth area?
Yes, I am. Yep.
And
Yes.
Aren't you
Ian,
a lobbyist when the legislature's in session?
Yeah. So I'm a
I kinda get
municipal level
calls
lobbyist.
from
Yeah.
your group through the years. I thought you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, we do public education and also lobbying at the state and the federal and the city level. And so I'm focused on the Dallas area.
Ian, is there a website address that you can put in the chat?
Oh yeah, sure thing. Sorry to derail.
Yeah,
No,
no, this is
no.
not,
yeah.
yeah, this
That's
is not
related.
derailing at all. This is making Maureen's area of expertise fit to our local issue. So thank
Okay.
you.
Can I ask you a question, Beth?
Yes.
Did anyone still have a question that was supposed to go before me?
I thought Jeffrey, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Go for it.
Okay, so my question is to Maureen. In your presentation, you said that besides doing all the other stuff, you guys also lobby for legislation. Has there been any legislation that has been passed and that is effective in
Yes.
the past?
Yes. So here in Colorado, the tourist towns, this is amazing. The tourist towns of Telluride, Frisco, Breckenridge, ski towns, and other towns in California and South Tahoe Lake have implemented a SUPS water bottle ban for a single-use water bottle that is under a gallon. So this is huge. And I don't want to go, I mean, I can go on and on. There's a huge process, but it's working. They're successful. Again, this is a legislation that makes sense in my town where we have melting glaciers. That's our water. You know what I mean? I grew up near Flint, Michigan. I would never recommend this kind of legislation in Flint, Michigan, where the pipes are poisoning people. So, again, it's just thinking about the legislation that makes sense. Our state has a statewide single-use plastic bag ban. So all of these things, I'm happy to send you all information about how to get started. It's a long slog, it's a long road, but I can tell you the writing's on the wall. These giant manufacturers are understanding that there are so many groups, not just nationally, but internationally, working to mitigate SUPs, because it is the next coal, as Eon knows, plastic is the next coal.
Tony, you had a question?
Mic check, mic check. Hello. Not sure if my stuff is working.
Yeah, we can hear
But
you.
perfect. Thank you all again. One thing I was just thinking, like, it could be like a societal change too, helping educate people. So that's great. Especially with, news coming out how it could be affecting our hormones, our genes. Like, I'm not sure if nothing else scares someone, that probably should.
We would hope,
Um,
Tony. We would hope.
Exactly. Yeah. Remember, it's funny, like a few years ago, people were freaking out about soy products, but like you have to eat so much soy product for those to actually affect you. But now eat plastic every day. We're consuming it some
Yes.
way, somehow people aren't
And
freaking out about it. I don't
and
understand.
each study that comes out shows more and more plastic in our systems plastic in fetuses, plastic in our bodies, of course, plastic in marine animals, and then we eat them. And we have a famous, kind of infamous picture of a fish on our website that when we did the Frito-Lay mob, a Japanese fisherman sent us a picture of a fish that was cut open and had a complete Frito-Lay snack bag inside of its body. So this is so unnecessary. This is all I'm saying. And you're right, Tony, changing behavior, the culture of convenience is going to add to our collapse, and it's so easily stopped. And I don't have time now, but we have had some real wins. I'm just going to mention, and I told Beth, Starbucks was a huge win for us. You can now go to Starbucks and bring your reusable, it's doesn't look like this, but they call it a personal cup, and you will get 25 stars, which is like giving you $1 instead of the dime that they used to give. So we were instrumental in making that happen. So just by doing things, small things, you can push that needle, you know?
Scammer for that, guys. Thank you. I did also have a question. I'm not sure how much time
Yes.
we have. I remember studying one of my classes about green chemistry, and we're just learning how you can hit it from the source, the very top, and changing how, what kind of materials there are for these plastics. So something in my mind was, guilt-free living, make it easy for the consumers to not have to think about it. So we put on corporations. Do you know, or have you all worked with anyone that's like, trying to push this out more, the green
Yeah.
chemistry?
I would encourage you to check out Upstream Solutions, which is the one that was in the upper left corner. Bioplastics and plastics made from all these other things still have quite a few problems. I think that if we can just tweak and get people used to what they were doing not that long ago, plastics were not around when I was young, and now they are everywhere and ubiquitous. If we could just tweak people to get back into reuse, I think that's the key. And I mean, that's really got to happen. Our culture of convenience got us here. By trying to find other things to replace plastic, we will only perpetuate the culture of convenience. And I know it's the hardest thing. I know it is. People won't return it. Well, guess what they do? When you have a DRS, which is a deposit return system bill in place, like Michigan, Maine, other states, people return those items to get that deposit back.
Maureen, what else can we do? So we know that reusing is key. You just said that. Are there other tips that you can give us?
I mean, it depends on the individual. I know young people are very discouraged. They feel like there's nothing they can do. The best advice I gave to a young man yesterday at a meeting is do what you just did, Luca. Start somewhere.
Can I have a question? I have a question.
Go for it.
How do we recycle the detergent containers?
The
laundry.
laundry detergent bottles,
Yeah,
those are recyclable in your area.
but we need to wash them very well, right? They
No.
cannot have.
In fact, that detergent, a little bit of detergent that's in it helps the process.
Oh,
Because
really?
think about it. They have to wash it. They have to wash the plastic.
Uh-huh.
So you don't need to even just pour out your last drops, throw it in the
Yeah.
recycle bin.
Okay, okay. Without the cup.
With or without, that's up to you. Like I said,
Also,
six of one,
last,
half dozen of another.
also last question, if I may. Sorry to ask too many questions.
Quite all right, go for it.
My concern are the batteries, not the rechargeable. You know, the regular AAA's 2A batteries. What do we do with this?
Yeah,
I mean, I collect these batteries. I have bags of, and sometimes I go to the city. They collect the paints. But there is any other way to do this?
yeah, those, so those are a little more regional. Do you know what I'm saying? Like plastic is pretty much the same around the country, plastic recycling, paper recycling. Batteries are a little more regional, but I can tell you that batteries in a landfill cause explosions. We have
Yeah.
had explosions, so please don't put it in your trash. I don't know what is available in your area where you can take them, and I would suggest putting some tape on each end if you can, to keep them out of the landfill. And then maybe there's a collection. I don't know, some of y'all who live in that area might know,
Yeah,
but please
I
don't
can
send
speak
them
to
to the
that.
landfill. Awesome, Ian. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just put a link in the chat. There is a website called earth911.com, and they have a recycling location locator. And so I would recommend that number one, you can go to places like Best Buy, Target, I think maybe even some Walmarts, but a lot of these kind of big stores will recycle batteries for you. That would be number one. Cities also have some occasional pickups, like you mentioned as well. I also want to just say, definitely make sure that people don't put it in their recycling, because that is the number one cause of fires at those MRV multi stream facilities. I live in Plano, and our recycling facility, well, the sorting facility burned down about 3 years ago
Yep.
because somebody disposed of a bunch of batteries. And so that got in with some cardboard, and then there goes the
Yep.
building.
Yeah. Thank you for tag teaming. We had that
Yeah.
happen here too. It was a small
Well,
fire, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the Best Buy, they take electronics, things like that, but they take only rechargeable batteries, not the regular ones.
Okay. That's good to know. I think that on the
Yeah.
website it does have some specific categories for which ones, which stores will
Yeah.
take what type of
Right.
batteries.
Yeah. I mean, you can go to Home Depot, all that, they take only rechargeables.
Yeah.
Ian, I
Yeah.
have a question for you about our local recycling. Do we have a pelleter? Is that what they were called?
A pelletizer?
A pelletizer.
Pelletizer.
Do we
You
have
know,
one in the area, Ian?
I am not aware of whether or not we have one in our area. So I'm not sure where that's getting sent to whenever you take it to, Target or someplace like that. I will look into that. It's a good thing to
Okay.
know.
Awesome. Awesome. If you can sorry, I got involved in technical stuff. If you can find information on that, can you send it to us? What's our website? DFW Climate Reality.
I'll put it in chat.
Put it in the
Yep,
chat.
will do.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. And then we'll get that out in our newsletter. Okay, Maureen, is there anything else as we start to wrap up now? Are there any other hints that you want to give us, or
I guess I would say this is the page I've landed on. I understand everyone is on a different page. Patricio, I totally get it. You want to recycle things, and we do want to do that. But that's the third R. And so I've landed on the kind of second R. And of course the first R, reduce, reuse. I'm excited to say, and I hope Beth will help me kind of advertise it. Like I said, a young lady in the Dallas-Fort Worth area named Sanvi is hosting what we're calling an Ahad an hour of active discards, and we're targeting cuties. And I just want to tell you real quickly why. So cuties, you can buy lemons, oranges, right? And there it is. And it has its own packaging that's called a rind. So cuties comes in a mesh plastic packaging that is the worst. When you cut the bag, it's immediately starts shredding or spewing out microplastics. So we chose them partly for that reason. We've done our research. We've talked to industry people at the cuties, and we know they told us the reason they use that is because it makes the oranges look
Look,
more,
whatever color, yeah, they make it
Yeah.
greenier, yeah.
exactly. So I thought that's not really a good reason. So anyway, we are sending that back to them, that plastic mesh. We're in the process. It's quite a process to find who to send it to, see if they get back to you, figure out the postage, do it via email where you don't actually send anything. So if anybody is interested in even just participating or helping with that, she is in your area. She's a 14-year-old who's trying to do right by the planet. And I'm happy to help her. So
Yes, and can you give us her contact information?
absolutely. Do you want it
Yeah,
in
go
the
ahead and put it in
chat?
the chat. Go ahead and put it
Yeah.
in the chat
Okay. Yeah,
if you would.
absolutely. Yeah.
That 14 and an activist.
She's 14. She's just,
I'd love to be able to support her.
yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else, Maureen? Can I tell them a little bit about the flash trash mob?
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah.
So Maureen and I met on the hub, the Climate Reality Hub. Began having conversations. She actually posted on the creatives page because she has an idea and needed a little bit of assistance with it. And it's what she was talking about before, the flash trash mob. And the idea, and Maureen, tell me if I'm miscommunicating, or feel free to hop in at any point. But the idea is that you target a parent company. So we have a number of Frito-Lay companies in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I think last time Maureen and I talked, they have something like, is it 59 different products or something like that, that Frito-Lay, or
It was
59 different brands,
Yep. 29.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is to, and we're starting to talk with at least one college campus here. I don't want to say the name until after we work out the details with them. But the idea is to coordinate with all of the fine arts department so that the actors would create skits, the musicians would come in and sing songs, and the dancers would come in and do choreography all around the plastics created from this particular parent company, and then coordinate a collection of all of those either recyclables that aren't really, or recycle, or items that you wish were recyclable but are not. And then coordinate with the campus to arrange a send back of all of those items. And Maureen's site, focotrashmob.com,
Yep.
and you can go ahead and put that in the chat too, if you will, has detailed information, guidelines about how to find contact people, form letters that have been scientifically researched. These form letters, when you do a return, a send, are the most effective. It's all there on her website. If you do something like this, please let them know, because they're keeping track.
Yeah, that's
but
our
isn't that just wonderful? I mean, we're excited because we want to engage younger people. And it's more than just take your own bag with you when you shop, which is what
Yeah.
Maureen's whole goal is, that is not enough. Maureen, anything you want to add to that?
I just put in the chat our latest newsletter, but yeah, if Beth and I are able to get this off the ground, it'll be really cool, and I think it will be fun, you know, for the performers. That's my point. We're beyond. We cannot stand outside with picket signs anymore. We need to be creative about our protests, our activism. We need to do things that are cathartic for us. Every time I send some crap back to some company, I feel better. So, and we do have a spreadsheet where we're keeping track of everything as well. So I'll end with that.
And I asked Maureen when we first talked about it, I said, but we send it back to the company. What are they going to do? Just toss it? And we thought, well, maybe, but it is still the activism that lets them know that this is not okay with a bunch of people, and they may get tired of it if enough people are participating in active sendbacks.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, gosh, Maureen, thank you so much.
Thank you all for listening to me. This is a
Dude.
passion of mine, and you can tell.
Yes, and so much research. You have done so much research on it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to be wrapping up now. Let me make sure, are there any other last minute comments related to Maureen's presentation? We're good. All right.
I'm gonna go eat, Beth. It's like late here.
Yes, Maureen,
So,
thank you so much. And we'll be putting highlights of this in our next newsletter. I'll make sure to send it to you. Maureen, thank you so much.
thank you guys.
Have
Take
a
care.
good dinner on plates, no plastic.
Right. Now I'm gonna just put it all in plastic. I'm going to
Thank
McDonald's.
you. Thank you, Maureen. I
Bye.
appreciate it. All right, awesome. We are wrapping up now. Mike, you've got some announcements.
Yes, I do. Okay, so just a couple things actually. So first of all, our chapter is always in search of leadership. Right now, we have several open positions, and for the newer people here, just feel free to reach out through our website, or I'll tell you what, I'll put my phone number in the chat, and you can call or text me. But even Beth is holding two positions right now, and she's stepping down from one at the end of the year. So we definitely could use some help as we move into the end of the year and onward to next year. The other thing is fundraising. Even though we do not have office expenses, we do have expenses. So you can donate if you'd like. Also from our website, which I think Jayashree already put in the chat, climaterealitydfw.org. And then I just have a small report. Actually, I'll even make it smaller. So from our national leadership meeting earlier this month, the bigger news, which is not on the Reality Hub yet, I don't believe, is there will be a US virtual training in October. So really just less than 2 months away. We're looking at October 17 through 23. So if you want to just mark your calendar, it's live on demand. Al Gore will be, of course, engaging with all of us. And so it should be really exciting. You may not be able to make all of the program, but check it out and see what you can make. There's no cost to this. And then on the voting front, there is something you can just Google, Turn Out for Tomorrow. It is also a Climate Reality Project get out the vote effort in the most neutral climate reality sense. So anyway, but there is a way to participate if you'd care to do that through Climate Reality versus your local opportunities. And September 17 through 24 is Climate Week. I think that's different forms around the country, but you can Google Climate Week and see if there's anything you'd like to participate in there as well. I will stop. That is the big thing. Virtual training, October 17th through 23, and you can Google it for details, but the official invites and what do you call it? The plenary, the agenda should be out soon. Thank you.
Another tidbit is that we're about to have our 7-year birthday. 7-year anniversary of this Dallas-Fort Worth chapter. It started in 2017 with 5 members.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Yes.
birthday. Happy birthday.
And thank you all the new people for joining us.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much. Now we do have a closing. Jeffrey, do you want to take us out with the closing? If not, I can.
I can.
Yes. Thank you.
This will be a brief, I finished this huge volume of Jane Hirschfield's poems, and this is near the end. It's a non-political poem. It's called On the Fifth Day. On the fifth day, the scientists who studied the rivers were forbidden to speak or to study the rivers. The scientists who studied the air were told not to speak of the air. And the ones who worked for the farmers were silenced, and the ones who worked for the bees. Someone from deep in the Badlands began posting facts. The facts were told not to speak and were taken away. The facts, surprised to be taken, were silent. Now it is only the rivers that spoke of the rivers, and only the wind that spoke of its bees, while the unpausing factual buds of the fruit trees continued to move toward their fruit. The silence spoke loudly of silence, and the rivers kept speaking of rivers, of boulders and air. Bound to gravity, earless and tongueless, the unrested rivers kept speaking. Bus drivers, shelf stockers, code writers, machinists, accountants, lab techs, cellists kept speaking. They spoke the fifth day of silence.
Thank you.
I'll put the information in the chat before I leave.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, our meeting has come to an end. Oh, no, it hadn't. I'm going to tell you about who the speaker is for our next meeting, which is September. It's the third Wednesday in September. And it is Joyce Mercado, who is from the Alameda, California Climate Reality Group. And Joyce was just happy being a single mom. She was working, living a nice life. And all of a sudden one day woke up to the environmental issue and became from working mom to activist. Oh, I don't think she was a single mom. Sorry about that. But a working mom. From working mom to activist to columnist to book author. So she's going to share her journey and what she has put together about, and you can do this stuff too. That's our next meeting. All right, folks. Thank you so much for being here, for being passionate, for caring about the earth, for taking good, right action. May we do it together as well. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.